At the bottom of the stairs stood a man. His clothes were tattered and stained with blood, and his face was twisted into a mask of rage. He held an axe in one hand, the blade gleaming in the dim light.
You shouldn't have come here.
Run!
Kevin shouted, grabbing Sarah's arm and pulling her down the hallway, but the man didn't follow. He simply stood at the upside of the stairs, watching them with cold, dead eyes. They ran through the hotel, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Every door they tried was locked, every window sealed shut. The laughter returned. The group's panic deepened as the eerie laughter seemed to follow them, growing louder with each step. Kevin pulled Sarah along as they rushed down a side corridor, their breath coming in ragged gasps. The oppressive darkness of the hotel pressed in on them, and the air seemed to grow thicker, making it hard to breathe.
We need to find another way out.
Lauren shouted, her voice breaking as they rounded a corner. David skidded to a stop, looking wildly around.
What the hell is this place? It doesn't make sense. This hallway.
Lauren cut him off, pointing to a narrow staircase at the end of the hall.
There! Maybe we can get to the basement and find a door.
Are you crazy? We don't even know what's down there.
Do you want to stay up here with that thing?
Kevin hesitated, but then nodded. The group ran for the staircase, descending into the shadows below. The air grew even colder as they entered the basement, and a faint, metallic smell filled the air, something that made Sarah gag. David shined his flashlight around the room. The basement was large, with low ceilings and walls lined with old, rusting pipes. A row of wooden doors stood against one wall, each one marked with a number. The scent of decay was stronger here, and the faint sound of dripping water echoed through the room. Kevin stepped forward cautiously, his flashlight beam catching something glimmering on the floor. He knelt down and ran his fingers across the cold, damp surface, lifting his hand to reveal a dark, sticky substance.
Blood!
This place is wrong. Something happened down here.
Lauren, trying to keep calm, gestured toward the doors.
One of these has to lead outside, right? Maybe there's an old delivery entrance or something.
They began opening the doors one by one. The first led to a small storage room filled with broken furniture and dusty crates. The second revealed an old boiler room, its pipes hissing, with the sound of trapped steam. But the third door, when they opened the third door, they were met with a sight that made their blood run cold. That a long, narrow hallway stretched beyond, lined with cells, small, iron-barred enclosures that looked like something out of a dungeon. The walls were stained dark, and the floor was littered with old, torn clothing and scraps of paper. At the far end of the hallway was a figure, slumped against the bars of one of the cells.
Is that someone?
Sarah stammered, her voice trembling.
We should leave.
Wait! What if it's someone who needs help?
As they approached the figure, they realized it was an old, withered man, his skin pale and stretched tight over his bones. His eyes were closed, his body unnaturally still. But as Kevin reached out to touch the bars, the man's eyes shot open, milky white and full of anguish.
Help us!
The group froze, terror rooting them to the spot. The man's bony fingers gripped the bars, his body trembling with what little strength he had left.
They took us! They keep us here, waiting!
Who did this to you?
The man's eyes flickered, as if he was trying to speak, but instead, a horrible scream erupted. From his throat, a sound so primal and full of despair that the walls themselves seemed to vibrate with it. The lights flickered and went out. Darkness swallowed them whole. In the pitch black, the group stumbled back, hearts racing as the sound of dragging footsteps echoed around them. Sarah gripped Kevin's arm tightly, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps.
I can't see anything.
David shouted, frantically waving his flashlight, which now refused to turn on.
We need to get out of here. Where's the way out?
The basement air felt thick, suffocating, as the footsteps grew louder. And then, out of the darkness, came a voice, deep, guttural, and filled with malevolence.
You shouldn't have come.
It was the same voice from upstairs, the man with the axe without warning. The old man in the cell lunged forward, his bony hands reaching through the bars.
Help us!
He screamed again, but there was nothing human left in his voice. His body convulsed, his flesh peeling away, revealing something monstrous beneath.
Run! Run!
Kevin shouted, pulling Sarah back as they turned and bolted for the stairs. They could hear the sound of chains rattling, doors slamming, and the laughter, the horrible, twisted laughter of children, echoing through the hotel. But as they reached the stairs, they found the way blocked. Standing at the top was the man, his axe gleaming in the faint light. His eyes were hollow, his face twisted in a grotesque smile.
You're too late. You belong to the hotel now.
Kevin, desperate, rushed him, trying to push past, but the man swung the axe, missing Kevin by inches.
Go! Run the other way!
They turned and sprinted down the hallway, their hearts pounding, as the walls seemed to close in around them. Doors that had been open were now locked. Windows that had once shown moonlight were now sealed with bricks. The hotel itself was alive, trapping them within its twisted corridors. Lauren was the first to fall, tripping over something in the dark. The others turned to help her, but as they reached her, a door swung open from the wall beside them, pulling her in. With an unseen force, her screams echoed, and then silence. Kevin, Sarah, and David stumbled into a final room, a grand ballroom covered in dust and decay. The chandelier above them flickered, casting eerie shadows as the laughter returned. Louder now, closer. In the center of the room stood a figure, no longer the man with the axe, but something far worse. The man's body had morphed, his skin hanging loosely, his eyes hollow pits of darkness. Around him were the children, their ghostly forms flickering in and out of existence.
You belong to us now.
Sarah collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face.
Please, let us go!
But there was no mercy in the man's eyes. He raised his hand, and the air in the room grew impossibly cold. The floor beneath them began to crack, dark tendrils of shadow creeping up from the abyss below. With one final, horrific scream, the floor gave way, and the group was swallowed by darkness. The next morning, the Blackwood Hotel stood silent, as it had for decades. No one ever saw the group of friends again, but those who dare venture near the hotel at night claim to hear laughter, faint but unmistakable, the sound of children and the whispers of the damned.